Thank you, and thank you, dear friends, for being here. I'm going to talk about the subject of this discussion, being a local representative from the point of view of a municipality. First, let me explain you the frame, and then some practices which will explain how a city can use culture to enable and drive social cohesion. Culture is for us a means to build more united communities, access to rights, and make come true the opportunities. We also see the need to allow each culture to live and progress in the city, but underlining the right for all cultures to contribute to the society, to the city in which they are, in which they live, in which they work. Cultures only progress when they are in contact with other cultures. And that is why we beg to reinforce the intercultural interaction as a means to build our city. We can state that culture is a pillar of the city strategy. We talk about Bilbao in a human scale, and we refer to a main strategy from two focal points. The first one is culture as an element of economic development, creation of wellness, economic engagement. I talked about it yesterday in the session. And the second one is the one referring to this session. We refer to aspects such as the respect to diversity, the social participation, the collaboration and joint work with other sectors, the openness, the critical spirit, the thinking, the culture of peace and coexistence. It has to do with the values that sustain any organization. We use as a basis the principle in which the city belongs to the people living in it. Citizens that have rights and obligations that take an active role in the design of the city and its vital project. We talk about cultural rights, understood as the right to an inclusive, continuous and high-quality education and the enjoyment and creation of culture in its diverse expressions and modalities. Bilbao has a diversified population that includes people from diverse nationalities, origins, languages, religions and beliefs, ages and disabilities. We have remarked how culture can help in becoming an educating city concerning coexistent values and open to diversity with the general objective of favor integration, social cohesion and coexistence in the municipality. Holding a close position to citizens as a public administration, the closer one, Bilbao City Council tries to answer to this new and complex diversity reality, designing a common strategy to articulate the public policies referring to integration under a consensus and a participation perspective. Therefore, the new organizational culture is transparency and citizen participation. City works to values such as innovation, community, identity and openness, multiculturality, tolerance, internal solidarity, universal perspective, cooperation, diversity and equality. And in a society, to develop the implementation of these values, a progressive strategy is needed. We are always working in progress, because this implementation will be possible if a continuous improvement process focusing on key values identified, understood and assumed by an increasing part of the population takes part. Culture is more than an answer for us, it's a need. In a really difficult economic and social context, the creative dimension of culture can help to respond to the new challenge of the society, which are development, democracy, coexistence, justice and social inclusion. In Bilbao, we support a cultural strategy based on proximity, basic public and private cooperation, and citizen and society's participation. Because a city strategy needs collective action. So Bilbao wants to present itself as an open and friendly city which welcomes all cultural expressions in any of the forms and possible appearances. Some examples of the actions of the plans carried out by Bilbao to use culture as an enabler and a driver of social cohesion are, for example, and I will explain them quickly, then we can talk about them if you want. First of all, the sense of being part of a community. So the City Council tries to take care of its own culture. It's based on its own language, the Basque. It's the oldest language of life in Europe. It's pre-European, but also taking care of traditional dance courses, exhibitions of Basque artists, traditional music, gastronomy. Why? Because we think that people living in the city should take part in a program, a long-term program we call Bilbao. It's to be part of our culture. But we want to promote the social inclusion and the restricted cultural diversity because the 8.5% of the population is foreign. Therefore, a diversity management based on openness is needed. Most of those 8.5%, mainly the 70%, come from 10 different countries, which are Colombia, Romania, China, and some others of Latin America. So there is a specific immigration program, and sometimes we have problems, not for origin, but for example because of the religion or because of the use of public space. So in those moments, we try to speak to the community leaders of those people who local people think are disturbing their lives, so that those local leaders of those communities can help us to understand why that's happening. There is a local immigration council in which associations for more than 20 different countries help us to understand and to define specific projects to give answers to their needs. For example, radio worked for teenagers, and what was the main core of this program? Radio is very attractive to young people, and the most important thing was that that radio was made by immigrants. So young immigrants could see a positive reference in that professional, and local youngs could have positive attitudes towards that community because of the media use, the activity used for that. Or, for example, an inclusion fest with the Rise of the World. It's not a local administration initiative, it's a citizen initiative. And it began being very critical in the municipality, but I think that we must let the public space to the critic. Now we let a public space to do that feast. It's based on the rice, because the rice is a universal food, but each culture takes that food in a different way. So it's a big multicultural and inclusion feast. Besides, as culture promotes and facilitates social cohesion and inclusion, there are many maps of facilities, services and cultural resources in the city. I want to talk about people with disabilities, or better, with diverse abilities, because each person has abilities, they are diverse. For example, we have been trying to work into better accessibility to the theaters, for example, for blind people with audio descriptors, so they can hear what's happening and what they can see. We have been working with accessibility to municipal websites, because that's a big channel of information, or even to the public transport, because how can a person be in touch with other people, or to enjoy something the city offers if they can't move properly? Or for example, an international press information services, not in all the libraries, but yes in some, in which immigrant people in some neighborhoods are hidden. Why? Because foreigners get linked to their original communities with their press service. And local people, when they go to the library, get to know what's happening in the countries of origin of those people. Yeah, there are a lot of them, we can talk it later, but there is a problem with indicators. Because those are actions, and we know that we must do actions and programs like that. When we want to measure which is the exact input of those actions in the development, we get in difficulty. We are trying, not about culture, not only about social cohesion, to measure every action and every program and every act we do in the local governance plan. In some areas, it's quite easy to have a goal, have targets, and then to measure the effectiveness of that. But when we talk about not tangible aspects, it's quite difficult. I think we need the help of the experts, the international experts, international forums. First, to clarify the goals, because we do actions and actions and actions, because if we don't do them, we think that we are missing something, but when we do them, it's the result. I know that if we didn't do all that actions, there are many, many of them, our city would be, worse. But how can we measure it with figures? That's the key. I don't know. We can measure how many people go to a theater. Have they increased? How many people go to a library? Have they increased? How many people get municipal card to go to the library? How many people get the free ticket because they don't have possibilities to buy it? But how do we measure if those actions get a more cohesionated society?
So it's still a debate. Have another comment or?
No, I got a lot of experiences, but we can talk later on about them if you want.
Okay, thank you.